Welcome to From All Angles. I am host and moderator of this program, Jasmine Nouravi. During this program, you will hear America's teenagers discuss and debate major social, political, and economic issues our world faces today, and how those issues might be resolved in the future. During this segment of the program, my classmates and I will take an in-depth look at the issues surrounding harassment, intimidation, and bullying, or HIB as it's known in New Jersey. What legal remedies and social remedies tackle HIB? How does pop culture portray and influence HIB? Does society benefit from HIB laws, and if so, how does it benefit? What are the range of consequences that might happen to bullies? More to the point, we will try to get an angle on what HIB means and how it should be regulated. The definition of harassment, intimidation, and bullying is hard to digest, but my panel and I will do our best to make it easy to understand this sensitive, touchy issue. Make sure you tune in for the entire show because bullying is a hot issue in American schools. We hope you enjoyed this From All Angles program on HIB. You can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at From All Angles. Once again, I'm Jasmine Nouravi. I'm a junior in Dr. O'Leary's Period 4 U.S. History 11th grade thematics class and Wayne Hills High School's National Honor Society historian. Here's background needed to grasp what HIB is and the possible consequences that may result from committing a HIB act. Though it may seem lengthy, it's definitely important to understand. As a student or parent, you will need to know what constitutes HIB and what happens if one is accused of committing a HIB act. The Wayne Board of Education adopted Pupil Discipline Code of Conduct policy to establish standards and procedures for how we, students, are expected to behave. So here's the official definition under the New Jersey law. Harassment, intimidation, or bullying means any gesture, any written or verbal physical act, or any electronic communication, whether it be a single incident or a series of incidents, that is reasonably perceived as being motivated either by any actual or perceived characteristic, such as race, color, religion, ancestry, national origin, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity and expression, or mental or physical sensory disability, or any other distinguishing characteristic, whatever that's supposed to mean, and takes place on school property or any school-sponsored function, on a school bus or off school grounds. Consequences and appropriate remedial action for a student who commits one or more HIB acts may range from positive behavioral interventions up to and including suspension or expulsion. Yikes, that's a lot to be aware of. Now I ask my panelists to introduce themselves. Ms. Robertson?
Hi, I'm Kaitlyn. I'm a debater in Dr. O'Leary's U.S. History thematic class. I research pop culture and how it affects the HIB law. I'm a varsity cheerleader, I'm a gymnastics coach, and I'm an FBI.
Hi, I'm Christina Fabiano. I'm a debater in Dr. O'Leary's Period 4 Thematics U.S. History class. I took an in-depth look on societal view of HIB. I'm a varsity captain of the girls' basketball team, the varsity captain of the girls' field hockey team, a member of the softball team of the National Honor Society and the Heroes and Cool Kids program.
Hi, my name is Graceann Ghassemi, and I am a debater in Dr. O'Leary's 4th period thematics class. I am also a Speaker of the House. I am part of the National Honor Society. I am a captain for the Student Dance Association, as well as tutoring outside of school. I also do dance at Gloria Francis.
Hi, I'm Afflito. I'm a historian in Dr. O'Leary's Period 4 U.S. History 2 thematics class. I took an in-depth look at the different remedies to prevent bullying. I play baseball, and I volunteer my time at church.
Hi, my name is Devin Afflito. I'm a historian in Dr. O'Leary's 4th period thematics class. I took an in-depth look at the history of bullying, and I'm on the Wayne Hills varsity cheerleading team.
Hi, I'm Alison Mitchell. I'm a historian in Dr. O'Leary's Period 4 U.S. History 2 class. I researched New Jersey cases of bullying. I'm a varsity competition and football cheerleader, and I'm a peer leader.
Okay, so we're going to start with Ms. Afflito. What's the actual definition of bullying?
Bullying is when a person or group of people repeatedly abuses someone for the purpose of causing harm, distress, or fear.
Okay, and also what's bullicide and what are other types of bullying?
Bullycide is when one is bullied to the point of suicidal thoughts where they could take their own life. One example is the Tyler Clementi case at Rutgers where he was bullied for being gay and he eventually committed suicide.
Wow, that's crazy. Can you give us statistics on how many are actually bullied at school or through cyberbullying?
Yes, 73% of people say that they have been bullied once or twice in the past year, and 21% say they've only been bullied in the past week, and 10% say it's every week, and 7% say it's like once or twice a year.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Mitchell, what happened to the young people in New Jersey bullying cases?
Many people in bullying cases become mentally and sometimes even physically disabled. They then can sue the district for millions of dollars.
How many bullying cases have been reported in New Jersey?
Over the last year, there's been about, since this new law came out, there's been about 12,000 cases that have been brought to court. Although it's a small percentage, it's still way too many bullying cases among young children.
Okay, and can you tell us about the case that took place in Ridgewood?
There is a student in an 8th grade class. He was a young boy, and he was heard calling one of his fellow classmates, who was a girl, a horse. The girl who was called this, she was offended because she thought she was being called this because she wasn't as skinny as the other girls. As this case got more in depth and was taken to court, it seems to fall under the category of HIB. And in court, the boy stated that he did not think that she was heavy and that he said he was only calling her this because other boys were calling her this. Although they are not exactly sure what the future will bring to this case, the boy's parents are concerned because one little incident of name calling in 8th grade is going to affect his whole future.
Yeah, that's interesting. Mr. Affinito, what are some ways to prevent bullying from starting?
You can prevent bullying with policies in school and consequences in school, and at home it can be prevented using family education.
Mm-hmm. And what's the difference between legal remedies and social and economic remedies for bullying?
Legal remedies are situations that occur in lawsuits and in court. During this time, legal compensations are given out to the victim's family. This is very different from social remedies, though, because although legal remedies are very useful, it cannot repair the emotional and psychological damages that have been given to the victims, and social remedies are the most effective in improving the state of the victim.
Okay, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, stay tuned for more about From All Angles and harassment, intimidation, and bullying. Welcome back. So far in this segment, we learned about what our historian panelists researched, and which included information about what bullying is and how it affects society, as well as how it should be regulated. Now let's move on to our debaters. Ms. Robertson, who is ultimately responsible to stop bullying from happening?
Mainly the parents, because they raise their children, and also the environment, because if you don't have a safe environment and you have bullies all around, it's not going to get any better for the child being bullied.
Okay, and what can you tell us about pop culture and bullying?
One person I really liked researching was Lady Gaga. She made a foundation for bullying called Born This Way Foundation, and it helps make a safer environment for the world.
Okay, and finally, what are the laws preventing bullying? Are they universal or do they vary from place to place?
They vary from place to place, but there's a couple where through 1964 and 73, there was certain acts for civil rights to stop bullying. That's really it.
Okay, and Ms. Ghassemi, what is cyberbullying and how can it be prevented?
Good question, Jasmine. Cyberbullying is bullying that takes place online. It includes mean text messages or emails, or rumors sent by email or posted on social networking sites.
And what are consequences for people who bully?
People who bully, the consequences for those victims are for them being depressed, or as bad as them committing suicide. Yeah. And it's just basically the victims don't want to show themselves in the environment or in public places because they're scared that these cyberbullies are going to come and bully them.
Okay, that's great to know. Ms. Fabiano, what's social exclusion?
Social exclusion is what professionals now are calling the new type of bullying. So instead of teasing and pushing and things like that, they're just shunning them and keeping kids out of having fun with other kids.
Okay, and what can you tell us about kids who are bullied and kids who bully others?
Kids who are bullied have a tendency to suffer from anxiety and depression. They usually lose interest in sports that they used to like, and in rare cases, suicide. Kids who bully others are more likely to abuse drug and alcohol when they're older, and they have a higher risk of being criminals.
Okay, thank you. Looks like that is all the information we can fit into the first segment of From All Angles. Today, my panel discussed what harassment, intimidation, and bullying is, its different types such as cyberbullying, as well as the effects it has on society. Now that you all have a brief understanding of what is being discussed in this episode, let's take a quick break. Make sure you stay tuned and listen to more on harassment, intimidation, and bullying.
Next, we have Sam Applebaum, a freshman. Sam, why do you think that victims of bullying might not tell anyone about it?
Well, I think that bullying is a huge problem all across the country. There's bullies in every school. And I think that bullies might not tell anyone about their personal case because they might be ashamed of why they're being bullied or who's bullying them, and they don't want their bully to get in trouble, or they're afraid that they might get bullied even further. And what the victims don't realize is that they need to tell someone. They need to tell their parents or the administration or someone to help them, because it's just a matter of getting through high school. Because once you get to college or later in life, the bullying is going to stop. It's impossible. It's never going to go on forever. So it's really just a matter of getting through it and getting help.
Thank you.
Welcome back to From All Angles. If you're just tuning in, I'm your host and moderator, Jasmine Nouravi. In the first segment, you heard from our experts on harassment, intimidation, and bullying. We discussed New Jersey bullying cases, legal and social and economic regulations for bullying, as well as how pop culture relates to bullying. During this segment of the program, we will continue to discuss the complex issues surrounding HIB laws and regulations. How about we go to Ms. Zaritsky? She's been going around the school interviewing students and staff on this issue. Let's get some more info on what others think about harassment, intimidation, and bullying.
Now I'm here with Mrs. King, our anti-bullying specialist. So, Ms. King, how exactly is your role, as anti-bullying specialist, defined here at Wayne Hills?
As the anti-bullying specialist, it's my job to investigate any possible cases of harassment, intimidation, or bullying that has been alleged by either students or faculty who may have witnessed something. So I'm the fact gatherer. I talk to all the people involved, gather all the information, and then put together a report which helps determine whether or not what occurred meets the definition of harassment, intimidation, or bullying.
Okay. And over time, how has bullying, harassment, intimidation, just in general, changed?
I think the biggest change is social media. We don't see the schoolyard fights like we did back in the day. Now everything happens over social media. People are anonymous, so they say more hurtful things or more threatening things, not realizing that it can follow them, and then it gets brought to our attention at school, and we have to deal with it on that level.
Okay, and what are the biggest difficulties that you see regarding the HIB law?
Well, there's a lot of difficulties, unfortunately. I think the law was intended to make people feel more comfortable and safer coming forward, and I'm not sure that it has done that, because especially on the high school level, kids don't want to be seen as snitches or tattletales, so they do still try to keep things to themselves. When things are reported, I think there's a misunderstanding of what the law defines as bullying or harassment and intimidation. So what could be considered typical teenage conflict, people are categorizing as HIB incorrectly. Another difficulty is therefore educating faculty, students, parents on what HIB really is. And another problem, I think, is that people are under the misconception that just because this law is now in black and white, that it's going to change our effectiveness, our ability to improve situations. I mean, it still comes down to people needing to respect each other and treat each other kindly, and we can intervene and we can provide education, but it's not a cure-all. And I think some people think that this law is going to fix everything, and it really doesn't. It helps, it's on the right track, but it's not the only thing that needs to happen.
Thank you so much for this.
Okay, thank you, Leanna. So what do you guys think about her job? Do you think it's important here at Hills?
Her job is definitely really important here at Hills because 160,000 kids every day skip school because of bullying. So having Miss King here to help the situation and help the victims and tell the bullies to stop and all that kind of things, that can prevent the kids from skipping school.
Yes, I also agree that Miss King, her job is very important because some people are scared to go to their friends for this type of situation. So I feel like if they have a higher superiority person to go to ask questions, to let them just express themselves, they'll feel more comfortable in society and hopefully, change their view of life.
Mm-hmm. I also agree with Miss King because her job is to help these kids not be bullied, and keeping these kids home and not giving them an education, that's not going to help our environment and world. So I really think her job is really influential on these students.
Yeah, and do you think the bullying's changed over the years? Do you think it's different now than it was before?
I I would say it's kind of like the same, but again, agreeing with Ms. King, it is going on a lot over social media, over cyberbullying. Like, you don't see like fights going on in school, like outside of school, as much as it used to be. So it's a lot on social media now, which kids still like feel that pain and really need to go for someone for help.
Okay, thank you. Now let's go to Leanna with another Kids in the Halls segment.
Hi, welcome back. I'm Leanna Zaritsky, your host for Kids in the Halls. Right now, I am with Morgan Taylor, a junior here at Hills. Morgan, honestly, what would you think you would do if you witnessed someone bullying another person?
Usually the problem with bullying is that you can't tell whether they're joking as friends or if they're actually being bullied, because oftentimes the victim will stay quiet and either try to laugh it off or the bully will make it seem like he's just teasing them. But usually I tell them to knock it off, but first I'm usually quiet, like the stereotypical bystander, because I just tried to get a feel and see if it's really hurtful bullying or if they're just, I don't know, if they are just joking around. But usually I do stand up for it because I used to be a bully, and I just know that it really sucks for both the victim and the bully to realize what you've done to another person. Well, for the bully mostly, but I just feel like if I intervene, then I'm showing the person who's bullying that they're doing something wrong instead of enabling it. And also for the victim, of course. I'm not saying that, that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leanna. Do you guys think that bullying can be ever taken as a joke? Like, it's not like really, they're just playing around?
Well, sometimes like friends just joke around with each other and like they make jokes, but there's definitely a line that's like very often like crossed between joking and like not joking.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's just kind of hard to tell, as Morgan said, like when you're joking and when someone's not joking.
Okay, so what did you guys think about Morgan's, what she had to say?
I think that definitely you should always intervene, even if you think that it could be just a joke, because things can lead to extremes. Like in school shooting cases, 87% of school shootings have to do with bullying. So if you intervene early, even if you're not 100% sure about it, you can decrease those statistics and save a lot of people.
Okay, thank you. I hear Leanna has one more interview out there in the halls for us. Let's take a look to see what she has to say.
Next, we have our SRO, Officer Mark. What do you think that, like, over time, how bullying, harassment, intimidation, like, how has it changed?
Over several years now, bullying has come to the forefront of what education is all about. They feel that bullying is affecting the kids in the schools, not letting them do their work properly, not helping them in life in general. And I think the new HIB policies is helping out kids who would get bullied and be afraid to come to school. Now they have people to go to. They have a resource to talk to. Myself, Donna King in the school, the administration teachers are not afraid to go and speak to someone about what's happening to them. I feel the video cameras here in the school system that got put in place about 5 years ago is helping with that. So that way we, the administration in the school, can go and see the bullying if it does happen in the hallways. It is happening around the schools. I also think that the No Child Left Behind Act that's going on in the school system also is helping out a great deal, where years ago when I was in school, which is going back 25 years, those children that were left out and put into secluded rooms are now integrated into the school system. For me, growing up, those kids would be made fun of by a lot of people, and the bystanders would just let them walk by and let them get teased and picked on and bullied in a severe way. Now what I see is those children that are those special needs students, they're actually embraced and taken care of here in the schools, and those children feel a part of it. Even though they may be a little bit different than everyone else in the school, they become a part of it, and everyone defends them and does a great job taking them into their under their own wing. So I think the HIB policy is a great help to the school system right now.
Thank you.
Thanks, Leanna. Officer Mark made a good point about saying that a lot of kids don't come to school because they're bullied. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree with that, because a lot of kids don't want to come to school because they're scared, because they don't want to encounter the bullies and they don't want to get hurt and feel upset, and they just don't have the confidence to come to school because they don't want to be dealt with those type of kids.
I do agree with Grace. However, even if you stay at home, there's cyberbullying online, and either way they're going to be bullied. So you would need to see some help to help stop being bullied inside or outside of school.
Okay.
I I also agree with Kaitlyn, but there's new improvements in school, which is the security cameras. So even if the victims are not telling other higher superiority teachers, the teachers will see from the cameras and they'll try to help the victims in need.
Do you ever think that teachers won't say anything for any particular reason, or somebody won't intervene?
According to a survey done by the U.S. National Department of Education, 1/4 of teachers don't intervene, and they just consider bullying, teasing with your friends and things like that. And 2/3 of students across the United States said that bullying is a big problem in their school that needs to be taken care of, and teachers really need to crack down on it.
Okay, thank you. We will now take a short break. When we come back, our viewers will hear more about harassment, intimidation, and bullying. Do not miss out on the discussion. We'll be right back.
Now I'm here with Naomi Conklin, our Wayne District Anti-Bullying Coordinator. So how is your role defined in just under the whole HIB NJ state law?
Sure. My role is defined under our Wayne School Board policy. It's 5512 and it's located on the website. Each district in the state of New Jersey, every public school district, has to have a anti-bullying coordinator, and that person is responsible for essentially coordinating the whole anti-bullying program in the school district, for making sure that the complaints about bullying are investigated properly, for reporting all of the results about what happens in those investigations to the state, for putting in place programs that address bullying for students and staff, for training, sort of a general oversight responsibility. So I am one of the point people in the district on bullying.
And are there any requirements that the police department, the District of Wayne, the schools, what the requirements that you must meet for this? If so, what are they?
Sure, there are lots of requirements. The anti-bullying law provides that the school district work cooperatively with the with the local police department, with the Wayne Police, and so the district does operate with the police under a formal memorandum of agreement where we cooperate so that we share information about incidents that might involve bullying. We also, I'm sorry, could you follow up on that question? What else?
Is there any training just required, or did you receive it?
There is a lot of training, both for me and for the rest of the staff. I happen to be a licensed attorney, so I'm familiar with a lot of the regulation in the area, and I've studied the actual anti-bullying law. One of the things that is provided for under the law is that all of our staff receive training, that our principals and administrators receive training, that our school cafeteria aides, our paraprofessionals, our bus drivers, van aides, as well as you, the students, are exposed to the rules about bullying and what's appropriate and not appropriate in school as far as conduct goes. So yes, there is a lot of training that's gone on since the anti-bullying law went into effect in September of 2011.
Okay. And is the HIB on the books any similar or different to how you experience the law actually in action?
Well, as I said to you, that's a really big question. When this law was enacted back in September of 2011, it was enacted after, frankly, very little involvement of educators. So essentially the folks in Trenton that put the law together did not include educators as much as they may have included other persons. So it's been a challenge to translate some of the requirements that are in the law to actual procedures that work in school districts. For example, the whole investigation process is very fixed and rigorous. There's a very tight time frame for doing investigations, and so it's added more responsibilities for folks in the school district that already had responsibilities. In addition to that, it has sort of formalized a process that used to happen much more informally as far as how schools and parents communicate, and sometimes that has caused concern for parents that is perhaps greater than we'd like it to be. We're always interested in communicating schools to parents about students. Now under this HIB law, that communication is much more formal, and that's a challenge sometimes. And those are just some of the ways that the law does not, has presented challenges to the school district. And finally, the law was not funded. It's an unfunded mandate. So the law imposed all of these requirements, whether it's training, investigating, putting in place programs to address bullying. Those requirements were imposed on districts. Districts now have to do those things, but frankly, no money was dedicated to doing those things when the law first went into play. And now we receive a minimal amount of funding to do all of this. And that's a challenge, because in order to do all the things that have to be accomplished, and frankly that we want to accomplish, we need resources.
Thank you so much for all of that.
You're welcome.
Welcome back to From All Angles. If you're just tuning in, I'm host and moderator of this program, Jasmine Nouravi. Our discussion today is focused on a very serious issue: harassment, intimidation, and bullying. In the second segment, our panel reacted to what students and staff were saying about HIB laws and harassment, intimidation, and bullying. So what do you guys think is the most detrimental thing about HIB laws or just bullying in general? What can we do about it?
I personally think that cyberbullying is the worst, because things like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram are becoming a lot more popular, and it's a lot easier for kids to say stuff over the internet because it's not face-to-face, and it definitely hurts more than in person.
I agree with you, Paul, but I think that social exclusion is the worst, because there's not much you can do about it. If like your friends decide one day that they don't want to hang out with you, you become lonely and all that kind of stuff, and there's not much parents and teachers can do, because it's not like you can print it out from online and report it. It's just happening.
I agree with Paul, because cyberbullying, like, people can write anonymously, and if they have the power to do that, then they think they have more control and they could say whatever they want because the person doesn't know who it is.
Do you think there's a way to like go past that and like get rid of cyberbullying, or no, it's not possible?
I think parents and like school administrators should look into students' accounts and their child's accounts more closely, and maybe help stop it.
Okay, that's very
Yeah,
good.
I agree with Paul. If the parents have like the kids' passwords, they can get into their Facebooks or Twitters, and then they can figure out what's going on and help them.
Anybody else?
I think that things like FormSpring, which is a website where you can write anonymously about people, I think those should be like banned and things like that.
Yeah, I agree with Christina and Fabiano, because people ask like perverted questions and they bully children, so they shouldn't have to deal with that.
And do you think it's the person's fault themselves, or no?
I actually think the person that's being bullied shouldn't even have accounts like that, and it's just going to benefit themselves for not being bullied.
Okay. That concludes the third topic of From All Angles, focused on the issues surrounding HIB laws, harassment, intimidation, and bullying. I would like to thank our panel of experts who spoke about HIB laws and bullying, as well as enlightening us with information about cyberbullying, bullying's connection to pop culture and remedies for bullying, and how it should be prevented. When you or someone close to you is being bullied, there are many steps to take to help resolve the situation. Make sure you understand what bullying is, the warning signs of it, and steps to take for preventing and responding to bullying, including how to talk to peers and children about bullying, preventing in schools and communities, and how to support bullied children and teens. That seems to be all that we can fit in this segment of harassment, intimidation, and bullying. Once again, my name is Jasmine Nouravi, your host and moderator for From All Angles. Make sure you tune in for the next episode of From All Angles, which focuses on the topic of the college application process.